The Ukrainian Air Force MiG-29 fighter jet was hit by a Western-made aerial bomb after it detected the positions of the occupying Russian army. As a result of the strike, the control point of the occupying army's drone operators was destroyed. The next strike also destroyed a nearby ammunition and fuel depot. It should be noted that the Ukrainian aviation has increased its attacks on the positions of the occupying Russian army in the occupied territories of Ukraine, as well as in the border regions of Russia, with aerial bombs mainly made in the United States and France. As a result, a large number of military headquarters, houses where the military gathered, ammunition and equipment warehouses, as well as drone control points belonging to the occupying forces were blown up and destroyed, and a large number of military equipment and personnel were destroyed.
According to investigative project Sistema, funds linked to former Russian President Dmitry Medvedev have amassed approximately $850 million in wealth since Russia began its full-scale war of aggression against Ukraine. The growing wealth of these funds coincides with the wartime reincarnation of Medvedev, 59, who was dismissed as Prime Minister by President Vladimir Putin in 2020. Medvedev, who retains his role in the government as Deputy Chairman of Putin's Security Council and Chairman of the ruling United Russia Party, has also been able to gain an audience of millions in his new role as an online attack dog and aggressive online propagandist. Medvedev, once a mild, moderate political figure, has now become a warmonger with extremely harsh and hateful statements against Kiev and the West on social media. According to financial documents reviewed by Sistema, a total of 15 funds linked to Medvedev received a total of 28 billion rubles, or $424 million between 2015 and 2021. This figure increased to more than 130 billion rubles, or $1.39 billion between 2022 and 2024, with more than half of this amount received last year alone. According to Sistema's investigation, the documents showed that these entities had a total of 23.5 billion rubles, or $316 million, at the end of 2021 and around 86.4 billion rubles, or $850 million, at the end of 2024. Sistema found that these funds were directed to real estate projects with clear ties to Medvedev, from Russian forces fighting in Ukraine to St. Petersburg to the Black Sea coast. These foundations do not disclose their donors to the public, and only 2 of the 14 foundations currently have websites. One of them, the Nasha Pravda Foundation, says it has spent 2.4 billion rubles on special military operations over the past 2 years. This money is said to have been spent on the purchase of thousands of drones, night vision goggles, generators, medical equipment, and other supplies. According to Alexei Sidyakin, head of the Central Executive Committee of the United Russia Party, Nasha Pravda was created at the initiative of Medvedev, and this foundation cooperated with the party. For example, according to information on the foundation's website, in February 2025, the party and the foundation jointly provided equipment worth 14 million rubles, or $177,000, to a Russian military unit. Medvedev's 29-year-old son Ilya who joined the party in September 2022, also attended the presentation ceremony. Information on the Nasha Pravda website noted that he worked as a project director in the party committee. Only a few funds provide detailed information about the purposes of their spending, but evidence suggests that some of these funds were used for purposes that directly or indirectly supported real estate projects linked to Medvedev. Journalists have discovered information about occupiers from the elite Russian troops who became the victims during an unsuccessful attempt to storm Kiev. Journalists from several resources have identified the names of 898 of Putin's soldiers who, after the invasion of Ukraine, underwent treatment in hospitals in Gomel and Koiniki on the territory of Belarus, Radio Liberty reports. Among the 300s, there were many paratroopers from Kubinka, Khabarovsk, Solnechnogorsk, Pskov, Buryatia, and Ulyanovsk. It was also possible to identify Rosgvardia and OMON officers from the Kemerovo region. It was they who took part in the murder of civilians in Gostomel. Journalists drew attention to the company commander of the 234th Airborne Regiment, Alexander Kvitko. It was his company that was in Bucha during the mass murder of the local population. Kvitko could have been involved in the death of pensioner Alla Minaeva. It is also known that the Buryats controlled a section of the Kyiv-Chop highway and shot at civilian cars. Almost all of Putin's army's atrocities have been documented. The most mass shootings were in Bucha, when the occupiers shot at least 458 Ukrainians. Murders, executions, rapes, and kidnappings were recorded in Irpen, Gostomel, and Borodyanka. The occupiers from the 64th Motorized Rifle Brigade from Khabarovsk and the 234th Airborne Regiment from Pskov are the ones most often involved in these cases. The National Police of Ukraine previously announced suspicions of violations of the laws and customs of war, premeditated murders and brutal treatment of the civilian population of the 234th Airborne Assault Regiment. In addition to this unit, other paratroopers took part in the attempt to capture Kiev, 4 divisions and several brigades. It was already known about the participation of each of them in the Russian invasion of Ukraine. However, the documents obtained by the journalists for the first time prove the simultaneous presence of these landing units near Kiev, i.e. their joint participation in the attempt to capture the city. Among them, the 31st Guards Airborne Assault Brigade from the city of Ulyanovsk, which took part in the attempt to capture Gostomel Airport. According to the leaked data, 74 wounded soldiers of this unit were treated in Belarusian medical institutions. For example, Roman Zyazin at the time of the 21-year Russian military brigade. It also appears from the leaked data that after the battles for Kiev and Chernihiv, fighters and other elite units were delivered to Belarus for treatment from Khabarovsk, Tambov, Novosibirsk, and Tolyatti.